Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Augustine and I brought a very special person to join me today. Feel free to welcome my husband, baby Augustine. We wanted to just hop on today and just share a 6-month video on being married and what it's really like, the highs and the lows of the first 6 months of being married, which has honestly just flown by. And it's been awesome, but we just wanted to come on and be real and authentic and just share what it's been like being married during a pandemic and what that's looked like. But we are just super excited to share this and go based off of some questions that we found for newlyweds and just wanted to just share this journey with you. So feel free to hop along with us in this and use these questions to answer in your own relationships. That this is a good starting place, that you and your significant other, your spouse, your boo thing, whatever, can just go at it with these questions and learn more about each other and how far you have come together.
Really?
Clapboard.
You're supposed to do it.
Yeah, but like it was like you're introducing a king or something.
I was introducing you, love. Okay. All right.
Alrighty, so on to the questions. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. What have you learned to appreciate about me that you didn't know when we were first married?
Your energy level, like it's not always high. And so in that case, it's like, all right, so you're usually an extrovert.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're really loud.
Yes,
sometimes
very much.
Very out of it. And then there's sometimes you just want to be a straight introvert. And I think that's one thing I love about it, because I'm a straight introvert. And I always thought, oh my goodness, she's going to be like an extrovert the whole time. So she's going to like level me out. But then there's those days where you're just like, I just don't want to do anything. And then I'm just like, yes, I'm with you.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think when you're dating, you constantly saw me as like excited, which I am in group settings. But like when I take the test, I'm like 60% extroverted, 40% introverted, so it's like pretty close. So yes. Plus, like during quarantine, we were together all the time, so I felt like that was natural.
No, your turn. Now you have to answer it. Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to. This is interesting. I honestly don't know what to say. Actually, I do. And I hope this doesn't embarrass you. But I love your shower dance when you get in the shower and you just like literally like do your little shoulder shrug. And you have the happiest expression on your face when you do it. You do.
Like how else are you supposed to get wet? Like just get in and
I don't know. I appreciate it. I called you out on it today. I was like, I didn't see you do your shower dance.
Yeah,
so
you're too. Yeah. Okay. That's great. I like it too. It keeps me warm.
Yeah. What have you learned that irritates, upsets, or frightens you?
Sometimes when I wake you up and you're not an early bird, and
True.
so you're very upset already, and then I try to talk to you, and then always like either one, you'll talk to me, or either two, like sometimes it looks like you want to kill me, and so I was like ask you something, and then you look at me, and then I'm like, okay, you know what? We're driving to work. It's fine. I'll just shut up for the rest of the time. 30-minute drive. That's okay. I can do that. I can live through that. So that happens a lot. You're not an early bird. And so it sometimes frightens me. And sometimes you do handle it like a champ. So, yeah.
I'm glad, because we talked about this several times. And I'm really trying to work on it. But, yeah. I'm not a morning person.
No.
But we had a conversation about this to like.
But again, like I'm a morning person, but then like
But you also
I
say
don't wake up at, but I can.
you are an early bird to an extent.
Yes.
But then on the weekends, like on Saturdays, you'll sleep in way past me.
So.
So like I'm consistent. Like I wake up at the same time every day, even through the weekend. So I wake up later than you during the week, but earlier on the weekend. And you're just like early sleeping. That's how you roll.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a challenge. Like I like getting them on the spot. What irritates me? When the dishes sit in the sink for more than a day, because that's your chore.
All right. Okay.
That irritates me. But then I also know if I want to spend time with you, it's either time with baby or dishes. So.
Yeah. See, you can only pick one, right? So I guess to ask everyone else, all right, if you had to pick one, would it be time with the one you love? You haven't seen her all day. So would it be time with the one you love, or would it be dishes? And for me, it's always dishes. Just kidding. Time with the one I love. And so sometimes it will take up to 3 days. Sometimes I don't do dishes until she's like, I need that dish. And then I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. I'll do dishes tonight after I get home. After work. And so.
And you're in such a bad mood on those days. And you're like, well, I have to do dishes. But you do them.
Yeah, because then you get upset because then you're always like, oh, I wish you'd spend more time with me. And then I'm like, well, I did yesterday and now I have to do dishes.
It's a process. It's a very growing process. Mm-hmm. And trying to find the time. So if you just didn't have to work, this would be okay.
Yeah, I mean, if I didn't work, dude, I'm great at chores. I'm also a clean freak.
You are.
But when I have work,
I was going to say, I have not seen it since we've been married. This boy has like all his wardrobe on the floor.
No, I cleaned it.
You did?
Yeah.
Thanks.
No, not all of it. Just half of it.
He always does this. It's not like I'm going to hit him, but it's always like coping mechanism.
It's whatever.
How have we learned to cope with the normal day-to-day irritations of married life? And how can we handle them better?
Well, we talked about one, which is I'm late for work a lot now, and that's because I sleep in. And when I mean sleep in, I mean like I usually have to be up at like 8 o'clock in the morning to make it to work by 9. But sometimes we wake up at 8:30 in the morning.
And we don't make it to work by 9.
And we never make it to work by 9. And it's either like I'm in work really, really early, and we talked about it the other day in the car, where you're like, all right, what time do you go in to work? And I was like, well, it's 9 o'clock. Like, it's always 9. Like, I'm never later than 9.
Yeah.
And so, I guess in the long run, it's the normal day-to-day is if we could wake up early to either, one, have breakfast, or you can take your long... Like, I already know, and I've learned it, to where it's like, when you wake up... Right? It's going to take you 5 to 10 minutes to process that you're still in bed. Right?
Yes.
Then once you get out of bed, it's going to take you another 5 to 10 minutes
to sit in front of my dresser.
Sit in front of your dresser. Fully naked.
The people don't need to hear that, but yeah.
No. They need to hear it. Just to see what you're going to wear. And I'm the person who's like, all right, it's 8:30. We need to leave. Like, I'm going to put my clothes on. We're going to get out the door. And by the time, sometimes I make my lunch. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I'm just waiting for you to make my lunch. Right?
I make dinner every night. I'm like, can you just make a sandwich?
Well, yeah. Okay. So sometimes it's kind of like, I guess the best way of putting it is I'm now used to you just like, all right, you're gonna wake up, you're gonna spend 10 minutes in bed, and you're gonna spend 10 minutes trying to figure out what you're going to wear. And it's gonna take you an extra 5 minutes to get dressed, to then go downstairs to brush your teeth for 3 minutes, and then see if you want to put on makeup.
Yeah,
And
that's
then you're
accurate.
like, all right. And
Then I'm
it's
awake.
like, then you're awake, right? And then at that same point, you're about to be like, let's go out the door. But then you're like, you know what? I'm going to make a good smoothie, like a good veggie, like smoothie thing. And
Yeah,
so
you need your greens.
then you do that. But I'm already the person who's like, the car
We're
started.
way late.
We're already late. And we're usually leaving the house probably around, if we're, okay, so all right. If we are not late, we're leaving at 8:30. And we're 5 minutes late still. Okay?
Yeah.
And if we are late, we're leaving at 9, and it's we don't get there until like 9:45.
Yeah.
So thank you to my amazing boss, Logan Daddy, shout out, because I should have been fired like 2 months ago, because I've not been on time for the, like, I think in January it started great because I was in the office at like 6 to 8 a.m. every day. That was a hard one. Also I think in March, because I said I'm going to start waking up at 6 a.m. And then every single day for like 2 weeks, we had a 6 a.m. shoot.
Yeah, I remember that. Those were.
Yeah, so that was like a terrible time.
We have one car, so if I want it for the day, I have to drop him at work for the 6 a.m. shoots.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. And so, yeah. I mean, at least to me, there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
So.
No, that's good. I think. So, side note. I've always been the person who will sit in front of their wardrobe for like 5 to 10 minutes. I've done this since I was in middle school, and my mom would call me out on it because she always came into my room to make sure I was awake. And so literally, I would sit on the floor of my closet and stare up at my clothes. And that's when my mom was like, you need to lay out your outfit the night before. I'm only dropping him at work, and I work from home, so like I could totally drop him off and come back and actually get ready for the day. So I don't even know why it matters what I put on, because I normally
It seriously
change.
doesn't matter. Sometimes you literally put pajamas on and it takes you 5 to 10 minutes to realize, what are you putting on? PJs or jeans?
Literally, and I don't know
And it's
why.
either blue jeans or PJs.
I don't know why, but I've always been this way. I'm not like, it takes me like 20 to 30 minutes to fully wake up. And yeah, I don't know.
So, to your day-to-day.
In our day-to-day, I think the biggest hurdle we've jumped through in being married is time, because I am typically, so like, since we have one car and I'm normally picking him up, or I'd be waiting for him to come home. And this was more when we got married in November, when everything was like really closed down and I wasn't really getting out of the house much. Like, I was like, okay, work's done at 5. He'll be home by 5:30. And then it would be 6 and he's coming home. Or like that, like to me, I'm like, oh, if you're off work at 5, you're off work at 5, which I've had to learn to give grace on this, because we got into so many arguments, or me just being very upset about, where are you? It's 6:30 and you're not home. And you're like, oh, like I'm having like such a great time editing this piece. It's almost done. You're in your creative element. And I was just like, but I'm home alone just waiting for you to come home. And that's the highlight of my day. And we talked to our mentors about this and just like how to handle that better. And we talked to a couple that we know that the husband's very creative and just about giving grace, but then also being like, time is important and the boundaries with that. So.
All right, I will say sometimes I do try to leave early, and I love my boss, because right when I say, hey man, I'm leaving, we get into these really deep amazing, wonderful, like profound talks. It was awesome. But yeah, and so I'll be like, I'm leaving. I have my stuff in my hand, and then he'll be like, "Hey, man, doing great. You did great. Let's talk about this." And then when I talk about this, then it leads to this, and then I'm looking out the window and I see her waiting, and then 30 minutes go by, then an hour goes by, and then finally she's calling me, and I say, "Oh, my wife's here. I gotta go."
Yeah.
But I love those talks. I love them.
No, I'm glad you have them. You need that.
Exactly. I mean, who else is like pretty much that creative and will talk to me that long?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes. Do we feel more emotionally connected than we did early in our relationship? Actually, hold on. I want to go back to the last question just for one thing.
Oh.
And no, sorry. I think this is important. In being married, I think you bring certain expectations of how you did life single, living on your own. And even when you're dating and engaged, it's way different than when you're married. Like, way different. You're now doing life with someone else on every level. And so it requires a lot of grace, I think, especially in this first 6 months, because you're learning each other. And so I was a person who was like, 5 o'clock, you're out the door. For him, he's like, as long as I'm, like, for you, I think you were like, as long as I'm getting out, like, you know, between, like, by 5:15, I'm good. But I was, like, steadfast, and I had to learn, like, that's just not who you are, that, like, the minute it turns 5, you're out the door.
No.
And me learning that, because that's not...
Well, I guess the best way of saying it, all right, so let's say with something else. I would always say, like, hey, if you're passionate about it, it's going to be hard to leave out the door. And then she would always say, like, nah, that won't ever happen. I said, no, there'll be some days where it'll take you a long time to leave the office because you love preaching, right? Well, let's just go with it. One day, I literally waited an hour for her because she's over here, not saying it's a bad thing, but praying for... Well, this is what she said. I'm leaving now.
I said I was leaving soon. We're just praying for someone.
Yeah, so we're just praying for someone. I wait an hour, like a whole hour, run into a bunch of friends, call my siblings, like... did a lot by the time she like walked out that door, and she was like, "Oh, we were praying for like miracles and you know things."
When I pray with
and I was just like, "Well, that's not the type of prayer I was going for. I was going for like the type of prayer where it was like, all right, 5 minutes, we're out the door. You know, I like
this was not that.
It wasn't that. It was more of like the way she explained it. It was more of like a, all right, one person's going to pray, we're going to heal that person. The next person's going to pray, and we're going to heal that person. And all the 7 or 8 people in this room are all going to be healed before we leave.
Or I'll give prophetic words, yeah. I didn't realize that, though.
And then, yeah.
I think, yeah, being realistic. So if you're running really behind, just say you're running really behind. It does no good to say, I'll be out in 5 minutes when you're going to be out in 20, and you know that.
That's true.
Because then it just irritates the person more.
Yeah.
But giving grace, I think that's huge. And just seeking to understand each other. Because when you guys get married, you're becoming one. Mm-hmm. And it's not all about you. It's a dying to self. Like, you cannot have a good marriage and be selfish. It's a lot of giving.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing. So it's like, how your life was as a single person, almost throw that out the window and start fresh, because there are some elements that you're going to bring, and not that, like, you as an individual and the patterns and habits you have, some of them are awesome, and then some you're going to learn are not beneficial for the season of being married anymore, and you get rid of those, and that's okay. And just learning how to adapt to that and just being gracious through that. We found that communicating well. I have found for myself, I used to be a person that I would not say anything is wrong like little general irritations, I would just sweep under the rug. And I would sweep everything under the rug until like the rug's off the floor because there's so much underneath of it. And then I would explode. And baby would be like, why are you so upset over this one little thing? I'm like, actually, it's not just that, it's all of this. And I had to learn to communicate on my part to be like, if there's something that irritates me, to bring it up in the moment, but in a loving, kind way. And being like, hey, actually, like, when you did that, like, that kind of upset me. And learning how to communicate that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That wasn't advice in any way. Please take it, though. It really helps. But
it's good, yeah. Well, I'm trying to be honest here and share, like, we're answering these questions, but to give things that we've learned along the journey, and we're not perfect. I'll be the first to say that.
I know you're not.
When you get married, you realize real quick. But I think also not expecting perfection, because you're going to get let down all the time because no one is perfect.
I just say I'm not perfect, and it's the greatest thing ever, because then she's always like, why'd you do this? And then I say, I'm not perfect. Like, what'd you think? And it's the best outlet ever. Like, you're supposed to strive to be perfect. And
I don't say you need to strive to be perfect. I say we need to strive to be more like God.
Yeah, whatever. And see, again, I'm not perfect, guys.
Nope. But it's okay. We're getting better every day.
Yes.
Better tomorrow than we are today. All right. Next question. Do we feel more emotionally connected than we did early in our relationship?
You can start with that one.
Oh, okay. More emotionally connected. I would say absolutely. So from when you start dating, you're getting to know each other. Throughout dating, I would say very emotionally connected. For people who don't know us personally, we met in LA, and we now moved back to Ohio, which is where we're both from. But in LA, we saw each other every day for 10 days. Mm-hmm. And we had been friends before that, started dating after that period of time, saw each other for a week straight after that every day. Then we started, I went home for a couple of weeks because that was right before my senior year of college. So we did long distance. I came back to school, and I lived in Malibu and he lived in LA. And so we only saw each other on the weekends. And so most of our dating relationship was done semi-long distance, where we saw each other Saturday and then Sunday at church. And that was it. And then the rest of the week we would FaceTime and text. Then COVID hit, and I came back to Ohio before he did. And so we did long distance fully for 6 weeks. And then
felt longer.
It really did. I would say during that time, I did not feel as emotionally close. And then
you were emotionally unstable.
COVID hit me hard because I am extroverted, and I just went through so many emotions during the beginning of COVID.
COVID hit me great because I'm an introvert, and it was the best thing ever because no one was ever outside.
I literally would drive places to go through drive-thrus just to interact with people, but that's a whole different story. But then we were engaged and felt pretty emotionally connected through that time. We did a lot of marriage classes and going deeper. But I think one thing we've always been good on is being able to talk deeply. And I would say in getting married, and like literally even when we were engaged, we lived at our parents' houses, and they're an hour and a half apart, and you traveled for work before we got married. So literally we only saw each other Saturday and Sunday as well. So
not even that. It was more like Saturday, and then it was only Saturday.
And then you would leave Sunday.
Sometimes, yeah. If I had to make it to church at 6 a.m. Yeah,
so that was our relationship. And so the first week we spent together was the first week we were married, like solid. And
that was it.
Yeah. It's really good. And honestly, I think we are definitely more emotionally connected than we were then, but I also think it has to do with we're married now. And I don't know, like our lives are so intertwined together. Like we do everything together.
Mm-hmm.
Like we still have our own friends, but we have friends that overlap. Like I don't know, emotionally connected, I think shows that your marriage is healthy if you are very emotionally connected. But I think we're really good about sharing our feelings, what's happening in our lives, being honest. We have really great, deep theological talks. And I don't know, we just have fun together too. So it's a good, we dream together a lot, we pray together a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That's my answer.
Okay, cool. I thought you were gonna go more. I would say for me, like, yes, we're totally like connected emotionally, like everything, like especially like I think once you realize, I told her today, like marriage is great, marriage is fun, but keeping that marriage together is what is hard, and that's because anything can come between it, like
Oh,
just
yeah.
anything. And it could be something very small to where it could be an argument. It could be, and then it's like you could be selfish one day, um, but like until then, like marriage is great. It's just it's hard to keep at it
Yeah.
and realizing okay, you are no longer single. Um, there is another mind in this relationship now. It's not just yours,
Yeah.
and so I think yeah, just in the long run, like yeah, like totally. Like connected. You realize, one, we have like joint bank accounts. So like now it's kind of like if she's out of money, I'm out of money.
Thankfully, we've not been there.
We're not there exactly, but just like as in that way, like if she ends up splurging a lot, then
I don't.
I'm splurging a lot. We do. Okay. Christmas was huge.
Christmas was bad, yeah.
Exactly.
But
But
May.
it's okay. We were both married. It was basically anyways. But we're learning together, and I think that's why we're connecting more. And we always say that um, the more we how do you say it? The more I guess the more you spend every single day together, the more you'll love each other more.
Oh, yeah. Like
And
the more
so
time.
yeah, and then I think it's like the more time you spend together, the more connected you'll feel. And so if you actually have a job to where you're gone a lot, of course, like there's gonna be that reason of like, oh, like yeah, we're married, but are we like connected? That's kind of hard to say because you actually haven't spent time,
For sure.
And so in the long run, yes, totally, that is mine.
Yeah. What dreams or expectations did we have about married life? What has been fulfilled, or sorry, which have been fulfilled and which have not?
Okay.
Am I going first?
Yeah, you're totally going first because I think you have a lot to say on this.
Wow. Yes, I do. I think this is really where you have to realize that, one, your identity has to be fully in Christ and not in your spouse. And number two, make expectations clear because your spouse can't read your mind. They love you immensely, but they can't read your mind. And so you should not expect them to do that. So if you have an expectation, voice it, but then also, assess your expectations and whether they're realistic or should even be held in the first place. And so I think the first couple months we were married, I just felt alone because we moved to more of where baby grew up and far from my parents, which we did job-wise, it made sense. But I felt alone, and it was in the middle of COVID, and so I wasn't meeting up with people, but I also worked from home part-time, and so I wasn't really out and about, and so I just expected baby to meet all of my emotional and relational needs. And I think that's why it was so bad in the beginning of being like, hey, like you need to be out of work because like, I'm very extroverted, and he was the only person I would see 6 days, 5, 6 days a week, which, I had to realize was not healthy for me. And so I had to start figuring out ways to get out of the house or working at coffee shops or different things to just really help my own health, but realize baby cannot be everything for me. He is my husband, and he can fill his role as a husband and as a friend. Like, you're my husband. We talk a lot. I don't know, you are a friend, but like, you're my best friend. I don't know. This is getting weird. But yeah, I couldn't put all of that on baby, and I also had to realize like that there were also needs in there that I was like, baby can't fill all of them. Has to be God. And so early on, I realized I was like, every morning, like, obviously, when you wake up, I want to spend time with you and cuddle because that's my favorite thing. But I also need to make sure, like, I spend my own time with God to remind myself, like, I love baby, and I'm so grateful we get to do life together. But he's not my everything, because then I'm putting things on him that only God can do for me, and will let down my expectations every time otherwise.
Cool. Yeah. So mine would be expectations. I guess there was a lot of expectation I had of myself.
Yes.
And so once you feel like you have that much, it's like, yes. And then it's like it actually happens. And then you're like, yeah, no, that's just not me. Like, I'm sorry, that's just not me. So it's like, we're going to hang out more. Like, we're going to, like, do things more. We're going to, like, vacation more. We're going to, like, there's, like, a lot of expectations that you set. And then you're just like, I don't feel like doing that. That's me. I'm more of, like, a feelings person. I'm just like, after work, if I feel like doing it, we'll do it. If I don't feel like doing it, I won't do it. Right?
Very much so, yeah.
Yeah, and so there's a lot of sacrifices that we definitely make together.
Yeah.
Why are you laughing?
I'm sorry. I'm just remembering the times of like where after work he'd say like, oh, we'll do this or that. And I'd be like, hey, are we still doing that? And he's like, well, I don't really want to, but if you still want to, we will. And I'd be like, oh, now I feel bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like everyone has that. Everyone has that some days where it's like you work and then your mind takes like all of your brain power, and then you're like, okay, so Friday, we have date nights almost every Friday.
Date your spouse.
Yeah, I say almost every Friday because we used to say we're going to have date nights every Friday. Doesn't matter what happens. And then work got in the way. And then...
And I would get mad because I'm like, this is us time. Like, we need this to reconnect and spend time together.
Yes. And so, yeah. And so it's kind of like, okay, things will get in the way. And so, like, I guess the way of, like, expectations is you do have to live up to them. And you do have to make it right, I guess. Like, if you say you're going to do it, like, do it. She always says that all the time. So, like, I'll be like, all right, I'll do dishes tonight, right? And then I'll, like, I'll come back and be like, nah, I don't want to do dishes. Let's just go upstairs. I'll do them in the morning when I wake up. Then I wake up in the morning and I'm like, nah, I don't feel like doing them then. I'll do them when I come back from work. And so...
But you've gotten really good about that. Like,
yeah.
you honestly, like, you've really improved. And I would say anytime you say you're going to do them, like, you go and do them when you say you're going to do them. So I'm proud of you for that.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, so expectations. Don't put too much on yourself. Don't put too much on your spouse, but also keep bettering yourself. All right, that's it.
Oh, good. How would we define love now? How does it compare with what we thought love was when we were dating?
To me, when we were dating, I knew love was a sacrifice. That's what it felt like. Because when I was dating you, all you wanted to do was go preach around the world and do amazing things. And I was like, cool, we can do that. And then you're like, I want to go to Australia now. It's like, cool.
For grad school, yeah.
We can do that. And I was like, I'm going to have to sacrifice a lot just to go. And I was like, but know what? Like, she's the one. Like, I'll do it. So I always thought, like, all right, this is going to be a lot of sacrificial, like, things. And I mean, really, it wasn't like we never went to Australia. Amen.
Grad school online.
Yeah, and so God made it work. I think if you think like if you're like sacrificing yourself to make someone happy or to keep them together, you're like, I think it should be two things. There should always be like like a political thing, like. No, I shouldn't say that. Like, because, like, politics are like, all right, do you want this? Oh, you can't have that. Okay, well, do you want this? Oh, you can't have one. And then they kind of just make a deal to where it's just like, all right.
If we do this, I'll do that.
Yeah, we both don't like it, but we agree with it. And now it's kind of like, all right, I'm married, and how to define love? Well, first of all, how to define love is, God, always. Like, read your Bible every day, learn who God is, and you'll learn what love is, and then you'll share that within your marriage. But then it's also really hard because sometimes you just want to slap. No, just kidding. Just kidding. But sometimes you just want to be like, oh my goodness, why are you acting that way? And sometimes you sit in the car for like an hour and 40 minutes and your wife is bawling and you have no clue why she's bawling when you've done everything right until she speaks, and all she wants you to do is just watch her cry for a long time. And then she'll finally get a word out. So with all of that said, it's really of just like, it's finding that place of like, okay, like, how can we do this together? Because you shouldn't have to sacrifice everything to be with them, but there should be some little sacrifices there. And I think it really shows that with God. Like, God wanted to be with us so much, he sacrificed his only son. Right?
That's good, yeah.
And so it's kind of just like I really don't want to do this, but I gotta do this. And it's like, and we both win together.
That's a good way of putting it, yeah.
And so, yeah, you thought I was going somewhere else with that, didn't you?
No. I think with that, to highlight on that, is like, you sacrifice not because you're like, I'll sacrifice this, then they'll sacrifice that. Like, you're not sacrificing in order to get, because that's not sacrifice. You're giving up something to get something, if that's what you're doing. And that's, again, rooted in selfishness. Sacrifice is giving up of yourself or things for the other person. And that's somehow love, like true sacrifice. And we see that with Jesus dying on the cross for us. Like, that was true sacrifice. And he did that for us, like you said. And I love that point because it's so critical to remember that in marriage. Because marriage is supposed to be a model of Christ.
There's a train coming, so you might want to finish the statement up quickly.
Marriage is a model of Christ and the church and how he gave himself for it. And that's what marriage is. And I love how you mentioned sacrifice, because before we dated, I really felt like God asked me what I was looking for in a man. And I was like, a Christian guy? Like, I don't know. And God's like, and I thought about it for 6 months. I thought about that question.
Can we stop real quick? So, a Christian guy, but you want to be a pastor, but you were like questioning to date a Christian guy?
I wasn't questioning to date a Christian guy. I was just like, God's like, what do you want in a guy? And I was like, oh, just a guy who's a Christian. And so I thought about that question for 6 months, and I ultimately came to the conclusion a month before we started dating. I was like, well, God, I want someone who's like you, who reflects you. Obviously, not God, but someone who reflects your attributes. And I thought about, I was like, how would God treat me if he took me on a date? And I listed all of these things. He would listen to me. He wouldn't rush me off. Like, he would sincerely listen and want to hear what I have to say. He would be a gentleman. He would open the car door. But ultimately, it would come down to he would sacrifice for me. Because God gave his son for me. And so when you say sacrifice, when people asked me when we got engaged how I knew you were the one, it came back to that. Because I had seen how you had sacrificed for me in times when we had first started dating, and I was dealing with just things from my past. And I remember I was struggling, and it wasn't because of you. I just hadn't dealt with things. And when we started dating, it brought up things from the past. And so I was going and getting counseling and just working through it in a healthy way, as one should. And he was praying for me and supporting me. And I remember at one point I was just having a hard day. And baby told me, he's like, I love you so much. He's like, I always will. But if being with me right now is hurting you, then I want you to break up with me so that you can get better, because I want you to be all that God has called you to be. And that's the moment I remembered when he asked me to marry him, is that he was willing to give me up for a season to see that I became all that God had called me and created me to be. And he loved me so much beyond himself. And so I think, like, I always think back to that, because I always knew your love was not a selfish one. Your love was one of God, that you were willing to have us split apart for a season for me to get better and become whole and healthy, than to stay with you and, you know, continue through that. And it ended up that we didn't go down that road, and I was just fine and got through it. But you put that on the table, because that's how much you love me. And not from, you know, your selfish desire, but from a godly love. And that's how I knew you're the one that I wanted to marry. How I would define love now, very much of the same. Love is sacrificial. I know so much more about love now than when we were dating.
Do you know so much of love now, or do you understand it more?
I understand it more, I guess, is the way of putting it.
Yeah.
Of God's love, of loving others. We were talking about this, and just like the depth of love that we have for each other, and how, you know, we're in this for life, and, you know, we fight together, you know, we fight for each other. We sacrifice for one another because we love each other. And I think you can do that in a dating relationship, and I definitely saw that out of you. And in a, what's the word I'm looking for? Engaged. There we go. Engaged relationship. And I definitely saw you do that too, because I really struggled mental health wise through COVID, and you stayed the path, even though I knew I was a mess. But there's another level about getting married when you do everyday life together, that you come home together, that you wake up together, that every part of your life is entwined. When, I don't know, love is so much deeper, but then also as we grow in relationship with Christ, I think I see that modeled so much throughout marriage, and how much God loves us. And so in growing in understanding of how much God loves us and how much we love each other, I would say both have grown.
Yeah.
Pretty straightforward. All right. We are on to the...
yeah, that's fine.
Okay. You can introduce this.
Yeah, I'm going to introduce it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Put on your little glasses.
Cool.
You look cute.
So, we made this game called A Minute to Win It. What are you winning? Nothing. Unless I get lucky. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. A minute to win it. And in this case, I'm lucky no matter what.
I'm still married to you. All right, so explain the game.
All right, so in this game, you have a minute to answer around
30
questions.
Oh.
I'd say around like 20, 26, something like that. Right? So
That's a big range.
let's see how many you get right. And again, this game is for fun, so to see how well, we listen to each other.
Yeah.
Right? I need my phone. Aaron, could you go get my phone real quick?
1 second.
It's on the kitchen counter.
Okay.
Also, you can't think about these because I'm going to ask you the same exact ones.
I don't think I have enough time to think about them.
Yeah, you do.
Bigger
Or
one?
It's
that
the bigger
you
one.
can bring that one.
It's
That's
the
fine.
bigger one.
Thank you.
Oh, you can come show your face.
I'm not showing my face. I'm not on camera.
All right.
I'm trying not to do anything wrong.
We're not answering text messages. You're not.
I'm sorry.
You
I get
little
distracted.
nugget. The goal is not to get through. Oh.
You're right. The goal is not to get through all of them. Okay. So we have a minute. All right. And 3, 2. I should probably turn my vibration on.
You're what?
My ringtone.
There you go.
All right. And
Go.
All right. What are my parents' names?
Becky and David.
All right. Where did I grow up?
You grew up in Jackson and Chillicothe.
All right. What are my major pet peeves?
Ooh, you don't like it when my hair is everywhere. You also don't like it when,
Please keep guessing.
I don't know. Okay.
That's cool. What TV shows could I rewatch over and over again?
Friends.
You're right. How many serious relationships have I been in?
We debated this, and I'm going to come back to this after the minute, but you've only been in one serious relationship besides ours.
All right, cool. What are my career goals?
Be a live stream director for none other than Justin Bieber.
I mean, that's kind of on it, but not really.
Start
Do I
a
like
school
my
for
current
film.
job?
Yes, you love your current
All right,
job.
what is my biggest strength?
Ooh,
Too late. Well, looks like you'll never know. All right.
okay, back to relationships. We were literally talking about this when we created this question because when we started dating and I asked Baby how many other relationships he had been in, he said 1. But then, as time has gone on, since we've been married, he's just talked about other people he's dated. And I'm like, so how many people have you actually dated? Because you've only been in one serious relationship. But then you talk about all these other random, because then you're like, oh, this girl. And I was like, oh, so 2. And you're like, well, not really.
But she wasn't serious.
But then you mentioned all these other girls.
And I wasn't serious about them either.
Yeah, but you dated them.
So?
Like, who's Gina? Like, I still don't know.
No one. Nah, she's an old friend. Great friend. Haven't talked to her in years.
We can crop this out because we're not name dropping. But I'm still.
You already name dropped one of my friends.
I'm still confused.
All right.
Baby doesn't even know.
I don't even know. You're right, I don't.
You were a little flirt.
Just let me know when.
All right, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Go! What are my
Oh,
parents?
wait, no, I'm not ready.
You can't think of your answers, babe.
I'm not. Okay, all right.
Ready?
And go.
What are my parents' names?
John and Stephanie with an F.
Ooh, brownie points. Where did I grow up?
Marysville.
Mm.
China. I'm just saying. Pennsylvania.
Yeah,
Cleveland.
and Cleveland and Michigan. What are my major pet peeves?
You don't like it when I don't do dishes. You don't like it when I wake you up and say, let's go, let's go, let's go, we're late.
Yes. What TV show could I rewatch over and over?
Really, I don't know that one next.
How many serious relationships have I been in?
Only me.
Still in it. What are my career goals?
You want to preach to a bunch of people and make them happy and share the love of Jesus.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do I like my current job?
Yes.
What's my biggest strength?
God.
Am I an introvert or an extrovert?
Too late. You're done.
When's my birthday?
September something. 27th.
There you go.
1996.
Mm-hmm.
I did it.
All right.
All right. Well, we're gonna end this.
No, because this is fun. And we didn't get to like 15 questions. What do you think I'm most likely to go viral for?
Your facial expressions.
So true. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I feel like you would go viral for... I told you earlier this week and I don't remember.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, I did. Wait,
Express underwear, bro.
That's... He still wants to be an Express underwear model. So if anyone has any connections, here you go. He has the 8-pack, so he's already ahead of the game.
Okay.
All right. Any closing thoughts?
Yeah, the questions will be posted below for all the ones we didn't answer.
Yeah. That was good, guys. Fun times, fun times. Well, everyone, thank you for watching the...
Well, why don't you just look at that camera? I'm just saying.
There are many cameras set up. Okay, I can look at that one. Thank you for watching.
I don't even know if you're in the actual space now because you moved over. You might as well just look at this one now.
Oh my gosh. That's what I was trying to do. You a little crazy. Love you. Well, guys, thank you so much for watching this video starring Baby for the second or third time.
It's the second time. We've done many shoots, except for I never post them.
Yeah.
Or I never finish editing them.
But guys, we hope that this encourages you, makes you laugh, shows you that marriage isn't perfect, but it's a growing experience. It's an absolutely incredible one. And that we just love you and hope you're having an amazing day. And if you have any comments, questions, please leave them down below.
Please don't. We are not marriage counselors.
We're not. Let's be clear, we are not.
But if you want something to pray for, like your marriage, we would love to pray for it.
Yeah, if you have any prayer requests, please leave them down below. We are prayer warriors, so we will pray for you.
She's a prayer warrior. My prayer will take 5 minutes. Hers will take 2 days.
30 minutes. But yes, we love you all so much. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to hit the thumbs up button and subscribe for more devotionals. And
so smash that subscribe button. Just kidding. That's just what every YouTuber says. I just thought you would be it. All right, go on.
Yeah, and that's all. So thank you for joining us today, guys. We love you so much.
Which camera are we looking in now? Okay.
Have an amazing rest of your day. Bye.
Goodbye. That just made me think of myself.
I was thinking that.
Goodbye.
Thanks for watching. Goodbye.
Goodbye.